Now I'm at the point you wanna be with me. I'm vibing out at a higher frequency, cause everything that I want and I'm gonna be, it's when I wake up, that's when I start to dream. Someone you love is talking down, here is the plan. Let it fall through like a handful of sand. Nothing happens overnight, what you must understand. If you dwell on the bad, then you don't stand a chance. Something you want upset, saying why it ain't mine yet. That's because now you have yet to change your mindset. People don't put their mind to rest while they're so wired. A lot of people go to sleep and wake up tired. Power of positivity and persistence. Say that I can, we'll just sit back and witness. Make an impact when our time is done. Make money, help people, and have lots of fun. Whoa.
Welcome to Office Hours, hosted by legendary sports executive, entrepreneur, and investor David Meltzer, where the brightest millionaires, billionaires, and entrepreneurs in business, sports, and entertainment get together to talk about success, failure, and everything in between.
There's so much more effort someone will give if it is not seen as the job, but the thing that they enjoy doing with their life.
Take a deep dive into the mind of some of the world's most impactful guests.
Well, I think oftentimes the thing that we're looking for is right there in front of our face. It's just disguised.
But I actually really believe that not telling creative people what to do is exactly what you should do with creative people.
To share their strategies and tools to dominate their respective fields. David Meltzer hosts Office Hours.
We've been doing it for, it's going to be 24 years in October, Jake. That's almost as old as you are. And you here with me from the start on the BWC. Want to thank Ramon, Glenn Lundy for making this the best to be on my Friday mornings. Been doing it for a while. But go ahead, Jake, set the room. Thank you, everyone. We're going to be doing Friday training today. We're going to be training on the stop, drop, and roll. And I've been training for a while. We're here on the multicast. Anyway, I'm waiting for Jake here to do that. There we go. There. Anyway, so we're going to train today, stop, drop, and roll. Sorry about that. All righty. Little technical difficulties this morning. Anyway. All right. Sorry, Jake, for interrupting you. I got the multicast, the Sanford and Son multicast going. All right, get this started. Stop, drop, and roll training. We've been doing it for almost 24 years. Like I said, as long as Jake has almost been alive. But I think more and more people are asking, what do I do when I feel this way? What do I do when I feel angry? What do I do when I feel depressed? What do I do when I feel a need to interfere with my potential? And to understand the identification and also the activity that's necessary when we feel out of alignment, when we start on a path, a trajectory that we don't want to be on. It's just a matter of time before we can get back to center. Now, a lot of people, and I have been this way in the past, spend days, weeks, months, and years in a trajectory that they don't want to be in. They don't understand the way they feel and what they do when they feel that way. And so I want you to realize that when you're on fire, when your mind's on fire, your body's on fire, your soul's on fire, that it's an indication that you have a better place to be. And that indication is usually met by some sort of ego-based response. And the indication of when we feel on fire or when we feel interference is fear, some sort of fear. And we have several opportunities to be in the practice of identifying, number one, fear, and then identifying what to do. And so I want people to think about the fact that there is only two fears. There's fears of the past, then the fears of the future. Fears of the past can be changed through our mindset, our heart set, and our handset because we give meaning to everything we see. We can't find outside of us what we can't see inside of us. And we want to get into the practice of identifying those fears are. And those fears are infinite in nature because the past is infinite in nature. The past is an accumulation of defining moments in our lives, historical relevances and references in our lives, void, shortages, and obstacles in our lives. Fear of the past is not only those shortages, voids, and obstacles and failures, but also our successes. And if we don't give the right meaning by finding the light, the love, and the lessons in our past, then we will continue to burn on fire. Our mind, our body, and our souls will be on fire. They'll create interference to our potential. They'll limit our own self-image, and everyone knows that we will never overachieve our own self-image, and our self-image is determined and limited by the fears of the past. And so we need to start identifying fears and fears of the past. Fear of the future is a little bit easier to identify. Not only is fear of the future infinite in nature, just like fear of the past, but it usually results in anxiety and worry. We're anxious or worried or interfering with our self-image, our future, with something that hasn't happened yet. See, we can change the past by changing the meaning of the past, by finding the light, the love, and the lessons in the past. We can change the future by wishing or praying or hoping for what we want. All of these fears are met with your paradigm of faith. Now, when I talk about faith, people immediately think about a religious faith, a spiritual faith, a theoretical faith, a philosophical faith. The faith that I explain is encompassed in accumulating all of those. The faith that I talk about is a best option faith, a source of faith that is the best option I can think of. And in fact, I've been challenging all the audiences that I speak in front of to give me a better option, and I'll believe in that. But the best option, the one which almost every religion, every spirituality, every philosophy and theory is based on, is there is a source of my faith that is omniscient. It's all-knowing. It's all-powerful. It is infinite, abundant. It is a unified system that loves me more than my mom. Therefore, it protects and promotes me no matter what meaning I give to the past or what limitations I give to my future via anxiety and worry. And in order to utilize fear to help us be protected and promoted instead of punished, we have to identify our faith, our source of faith, whether it's religious, call it God, Jesus, Muhammad, Joseph Smith, Buddha, whatever you want to define it as. But for me, it's just the best option. Nobody on earth, nobody in all the texts that I've written and read, from, the Old Testament, New Testament, Bhagavad Gita to the Course in Miracles, whatever I studied, the Quran, all the different religious texts that I've read, all of them have the same best option. And if we want to utilize and take advantage of that best option, if we want to live in abundance, if we want to utilize the omniscient source, an all-knowing source, if we want to utilize the all-powerful source, if we want to expect miracles because we are part of that source, if we want to receive miracles because we're part of that source, if we want to give miracles because we're part of that source, then we got to have faith in that source. And for me, why not take the best option? And so if you're willing to take the best option, then we can identify not how to get that option, but to stop interfering with that option. So no journey, no effort of getting more happy, more healthy, more wealthy, more worthy, more of anything that we want, because we already have it. We're part of an omniscient, all-powerful, all-knowing source, an infinite, abundant, more than enough source. So we have to figure out what we're doing to interfere with it. And what we're doing to interfere with it is being afraid of the past or afraid of the future, which we control. We control it through gratitude, finding the light, the love, and the lessons in the past. We control it with forgiveness, forgive ourselves so we can forgive others, to create the ease and get rid of the dis-ease. We control it with accountability, to say to ourselves, where is the light, the love, and the lessons, by being responsible for all of our meanings. Being understanding of, how did I attract this to myself, and what am I supposed to learn? And how am I participating in this perception and learning from as well? Which leaves us to be inspired in spirit to effectively communicate with our source and everything through us that is around us, the person, place, thing that is around us. So we need to identify the dis-ease. We need to identify the fear. And when we identify the fear, we need to practice identifying the fear, because it will never go away. It will never go away, because we are human beings that contain an ego that react to fear. And so when we are afraid of something based off of our past or our future, we want to limit the amount of time we spend in dis-ease, and we want to be at ease to take advantage of the all-powerful and all-knowing, to be protected and promoted, to accelerate and aggregate and exponential outcomes in our lives, to make more money, help more people, and have more fun, not by going after it, but by doing our best, learning lessons, have fun while we're clearing the interference. And so the first step in being at ease and taking advantage of the infinite unified system of thought is to identify the fear and then stop. See, most people don't do that. Most people, when they are afraid, they go over it, under it, through it, around it, lie to it, manipulate it, cheat it, or deny it. And they create more resistance. They accelerate in the wrong direction. They waste time, emotions, value, relationships, and energy. It's amazing what is wasted. I always say some of the greatest energy is wasted between who we are, walking with that source that I talked about, who we are, expecting equals giving and receiving miracles because of who we are, compared to what we want other people to think we are, creates the greatest interference and fear in our lives. Fear of the past and fear of the future, the snapshots and meanings that others give to us comparatively to who we are today. And so I want you to understand that after I identify fear of the past or fear of the future, the first step is not to go over it, under it, through it, around it, or resist it, not to lie, cheat it, manipulate, or deny it, but stop. When your mind, body, and soul are on fire with fear, stop and breathe for a second and ask yourself, within the context of human nature, what am I doing in fear with it? What am I doing to create more dis-ease? What am I doing to waste time, emotion, value, and energy in this circumstance of seeing that is just a participation of my own perception? What am I doing? And then I want you to think about what ego edging goodness out of my life, EGO, edge gold in my life. What ego-based consciousness am I prescribing to that? Right? What type of prescription am I giving this fear? Is it one of a need that creates that dis-ease? Is it a need to be separate? Is it a need to be superior? Does it need to be inferior? Is it a need to be resentful, guilty, angry, frustrated, depressed? Is it a need to be offended? Is it a need to be right? I'm sure one of those needs, those prescriptions that we give pain called fear, has been utilized by you in a consistent manner day to day for decades, if not your entire life. And if you think about one of those needs, not all of them, which I'm sure you prescribe at one time or another, if you look at the time, emotion, value, relationships, and money you have wasted with a need to be offended, or a need to be right, or a need to be unworthy, or a need to be anxious, frustrated, angry, and guilty, you'll start realizing that that gap between who I am and what I want others to think I am has created huge obstacles, resistance, void, shortages, and obstacles in your life. They have created dis-ease. And so, in the context of when our minds and our bodies and our souls are on fire, we need to get into the practice of identifying fear and exploring the meaning that we're giving it, either the meaning of the past in order to find the light, the love, and the lessons, or the meaning of the future, the anxiety and worry that we're giving it. In 2008, I lost over $100 million. I lost everything. I had to walk to my mom's house to tell her I was bankrupt. The only reason I wanted to be rich as a child was to buy my mom a house and a car, completing a happy life, because my mom had provided me so much joy and love, but no financial security. And I felt that if that I could give her that financial security, that everything would be complete. And here I was at 38 years old, walking to my mom's house to tell her I had lost everything, but not just everything. I had to tell her that I forgot to take my name off of the title of her home, and therefore I had lost home in bankruptcy, and she would have to move. That day and that night, in the morning after, the meaning I gave that, let's just say, was not one of protection and promotion. It was one of being a victim, of being punished. I had so much fear, creating dis-ease that was unbelievable. I still look back on it and say, how did I get up that day? My mind was on fire. My body was on fire. My soul was on fire. I had not only had a fear of my past, the energetic and genetic inheritance of all my family telling me that I took too many risks, that I was on the wrong trajectory, I should have been a real lawyer, blah, 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 blah. And the bankruptcies of the family members perceived me, and the over conservative people in my, all the different meanings that I was giving my past, and God knows the anxiety, fear for my future, that it was over. That nobody would love me. Nobody would listen to me. Nobody would want to be with me. But here I am, 23. And I will tell you that walk of shame to tell my mom I'd lost everything, including her house, and she would have to move, has a different meaning. Through the process of stopping and understanding the source of my faith, I will tell you that it was one of the greatest moments of protection and promotion that I've ever received. Easy to see 15 years later, easy to see. But faith is gratitude of the future. How much time did it take me to get from I want to kill myself to I'm being protected and promoted? My basement had a basement that day. How long did it take me to get back to I'm being protected and promoted and moving in the right trajectory and not accelerating in the wrong trajectory and numb my pain with alcohol and drugs and negative thoughts and negative feelings and negative words and negative belief? Knowing that I was a bag of beliefs and that I had to believe that I was protected and promoted, not because somebody had proven it to me, but because I had faith, I had gratitude of the future, that my life was being protected and promoted to a better place, a better situation. That was the inception of Stop, Drop, and Roll. When I told myself, as I was watching Rocky on TV, crying in my bed, thinking it's all over, and looking at him, saying to myself, if I can look up, I can get up. If I can look up, if I can get up, and if I can get up, I can get there again. I knew that no longer would I resist, go over it, under it, through it, around it, lie to it, cheat it, manipulate it, oversell it, back end sell it, deny it. Instead, I was going to apply it. I wasn't going to search anymore for more money, more happiness, more health, more wealth. No longer would I search for my why. I was going to apply my why. And so I stopped. I stopped and asked myself, what am I doing to interfere with it? I am happy, healthy, wealthy, and worthy. What am I doing to interfere with it? And instead of that resistance in which I had been fighting my entire life, I decided that I would now live at ease, that I would live at faith, that I would have gratitude of a future. No longer would I live with that fear, only for minutes and moments, not for days, weeks, months, and years. And so this idea of stop, drop, and roll came to life. I started to analyze what I was afraid of in the past, what I was afraid of for the future, and I stopped and I looked at what ego-based consciousness was edging goodness out of my life, edging God out of my life, edging gold out of my life. And I started to get off of the prescriptions. No longer would I need to numb my pain, not with Oxycontin, not with heroin or cocaine or alcohol. I was going to stop the prescriptions of a need to be offended, a need to be right, a need to be inferior, a need to be superior, a need to be separate, a need to be anxious, frustrated, angry, guilty, resentful, worried. I was going to stop every time I felt that way. And I was going to breathe. And I would remind myself at that time that I had a source, an all-powerful source. I was going to remind to that source. I was going to recollect with that source. I was going to remember with that source that I am omniscient, all-powerful, all-knowing. I expect the miracles. I give the miracles and receive the miracles because am the source of the infinite abundant system, unified with an all-powerful, omniscient source. That was part of me that comes through me. And when I realized the fire that I created, the dis-ease that I had created in my life, I now utilized my 5 daily practices to roll in the right trajectory. That rolling is number one, saying to myself as I remembered, and recollected to my source of faith of what I wanted, not what I didn't want. What I wanted, not what I was afraid of. What I wanted, not what was missing. What I wanted, not what other people wanted for me. And when I remembered, and recollected what I wanted personally, experientially, giving and receiving wise, what I wanted, my nothingness, my emptiness became a possibility, a faith-based possibility, that I was part and parcel of everything, more than enough of everything, and that I had to figure out what I was doing to interfere with it. And one of those things was I thought that I was alone, that I was in control. But when I took the next step of rolling, which is to see who was walking with me, who could help me, and therefore who could I help, because I knew I couldn't give more with less, and that my counterintuitive thoughts about I would give everything that I had was incorrect, that I would receive everything from everything so I can give everything to everyone. And once I realized the who component of rolling in the right trajectory towards what I think I wanted better, by giving meaning to those lessons of the path, the light, the love that existed, I realized that my possibilities became probabilities. And then as I shortened the distance, not only between who I am and who wanted people to think I am, but also shortened the distance of time that it took to get back to ease from the dis-ease that the pain and the prescriptions were causing in my life. I became more productive. I became more accessible to others and to what I wanted, and I became more gracious. I became empowered with the ability to find the love and the lessons in all things, regardless of the opinions of others, those judgments that are based on ignorance and doubt. I was capable now of living at ease more of the time. And all of a sudden, my perspective changed. I went from nothingness, emptiness, into a possibility based off of the best option of the faith, into a probability where I knew my who, into a perspective that I was protected and promoted at all times, regardless of what circumstances existed outside of me. And when I realized that I had been interfering with my potential, my infinite potential, my everything for everyone potential, I quickly realized I could roll in the right trajectory. I didn't have to accelerate in the wrong trajectories. I knew what was important to me. And therefore, I could now prioritize every day in that trajectory where I wanted to be, or and give the correct meaning to the bankruptcies, to the relationships, to the failure and successes and the void shortages and obstacles that I created. I had a new prescription to fear, not an ego-based prescription of wanting more of God, more of gold, more of goodness, but one of applying God and applying goodness and applying gold to the fear. When your mind and your body and your soul is on fire with fear, practice identifying it, What am I afraid of? Is it based off of something in my past? Was my parents, my grandparents, my great grandparents like this? Where did they have this disease of alcoholism or bankruptcy or scarcity or anger or abuse? Did they have these things? What am I afraid of? Did I, fail a class, or what is it I'm afraid of? Or am I just afraid of the future, limiting my own self-image, which I'll never overachieve? And when you feel on fire, everybody knows when you're on fire, you got to stop, you got to drop, and you got to roll. So when you feel on fire, I want you to stop and breathe through your nose and out through your mouth and drop down to remind with your source, remember and recollect with your source. I want you to drop down and then ask yourself, when you feel at ease, when the fire is extinguished, what is it that I want? Who is with me? Who am I walking with to expect these miracles, to give these miracles and receive these miracles? Who is it that I can help with these miracles? And then how am I going to get this done? Walking with that source of faith, a gratitude of the future that we never could have imagined. Taking the numbness, the interference, and the disease, and instead of prescribing more disease, we are going to utilize ease to take us to possibilities, probabilities, to change our perspective, to change the meaning of our past and future, to accelerate, aggregate, and create exponential outcomes aligned with what we think we want or better. Remember, everyone, when you're on fire, you got to stop, you got to drop, and you got to roll. All right. That is the Stop, Drop, and Roll training. I want to thank everybody. We're ready to take some Q&A. Jakey Bakey, why don't you go ahead? If anybody, by the way, wants the training exercises and guides, I always throw in my book, send it to you, pay for shipping in the book. Just email me. I'm happy to send those guides to you of how to stop, drop, and roll. David@dmeltzer.com. Jakey of the Bakey, reset the room.
Resetting the room. That was the Stop, Drop, and Roll training. Thank you so much. 29 minutes left here on Clubhouse and in training. So if anyone has a question that they'd like to ask David, just raise your hand or back channel me and we will aim to bring you up. Let's also take a second here to invite your friends, family, the whole community here on Clubhouse. You can do that at the bottom. There's a little square with an arrow. Share with your family. Text them. Send them a link in your in social media. Of course, send them a link here on Clubhouse. Let's continue to share the room. Also, we'll be doing some, of course, some VIP dinners and some meetups across the country coming up. He's got one on September 6th and September 2nd in Las Vegas, and many more. So if you want a schedule and would like to join any of them, just email David@dmeltzer.com. David@dmeltzer.com. Text his number is 949-298-2905. So Dave, do you want to throw the question online, and then we'll bring up Monica here on Clubhouse when you're back.
Oh, sure. And I do want to say that we have multiple cities. We have incredible people there. We finished up one in Chicharito, and just amazing people at these meetups and dinners. Vegas as well. Ryan Pineda, of course, Griffin, and multiple others. We have Drew Brees in San Diego, Tom Brady and others down in Mexico City. We're blessed to have some great people in our neighborhood. Remember, your frequency is your neighborhood. And we would love to have you email us, and we'd love to have you join. All right. First question online. What fear has required the most practice to stop, drop, and roll as for you recently? It's interesting because, for me, scarcity is my greatest fear. The world of not enough is my greatest fear. And it stems from, as a child, I lived 5, having 6 kids, my mom working 2 jobs, and we didn't have enough. And the only thing that was missing in my life, because I had this extraordinary mom full of love and joy, was money. And part of that scarcity was food insecurity, because with 6 kids, 5 boys, single mom who taught second grade and filled up turnstiles at convenience stores so we could eat, packing our dinners in a paper bag. And, for me, a great night, a big treat when she bought 2 large French fries at McDonald's and poured it in a bowl. And then almost like a pig trough, at least 5 boys would just dive in there. And I had a fear of not having enough to eat. Now, we're talking about a core fear, one in which Freud talks about as a core ego-based prescription of a need to feed. And so for me, it required the most practice to stop, drop, and roll when that has been translated not into just the speed in which I eat or the amount of which I eat, no matter how healthy you eat. If you eat too fast and you eat much, it's going to be a dis-ease to you. But it also has to do with other things in my life. And so I have identified my fear of the past. I have identified the anxiety and worry that it's created for my imitation of my future. And so I would say still today, at 55 years old, the scarcity, the energetic and inheritance of scarcity is the practice of the fear that requires the most practice for me. Next would be the need to be offended. And so that one came a little bit later on in life, thinking that I knew more than I knew. And I developed the holier than thou need to be offended. And so I work very hard on practicing stop, drop, and rolling with those needs. Great question, and I appreciate that online. We got tons of online, Jake, but I always love to take live questions. If anyone's here, Jake, who do we got?
Perfect. Thank you, Dave. Let's bring up Monica. Monica, you can unmute yourself and welcome to the clubhouse.
Hi, good morning. Thanks, David, for taking my question. I don't think I ever heard you share your story as in depth as you did today, and it was very moving. I just want you to know.
Thank you.
Yeah, and obviously there's a lot going on in the economics right now, and a lot of people are facing these kind of scarcity fears. So what would you as an advice to people who are facing those kind of scarcity ideas of not enough? The practice of the Course in Miracles, which I also do, and just what gave you the stamina and the faith to come back from that deep loss that you had in 2008?
Yeah, I think, number one, the practice of stop, dropping, and rolling obviously is what our training is about. But beyond that, really understanding, our faith. And for me, having gratitude of the future, that do I really believe in a value add world of more than enough, or do I believe in a zero sum game? And what belief, because I am a bag of belief, will best suit me to get to where I want to be or better? Will the belief that there's not enough of anything for everyone and I'm a victim get me to where I want to be? Knowing, regardless of your faith, that your beliefs will fuel what you do, what you say, what you think, and what you feel. So regardless of belief in outcomes, if only you want to do better, say better, think better, and feel better in a trajectory more than enough, even if the economy is difficult, the interest rates are high, the unemployment rates, or whatever else you think or believe or meaning to a bad economy, the best option I have is to believe that I'm protected and promoted, because my beliefs, as I am a bag of beliefs, are the fuel of what I do, say, think, feel. And if I do better and say better and think better and feel better, statistically, I'll do better. I'll say better. I'll think better and feel better. Ultimately, the outcome that I'm looking for anyway. And so reconciled with the actual outcome is the belief of being promoted and protected with an omniscient, all-powerful, all-knowing source, and utilizing the Course in Miracles to understand how forgiveness also helps us clear the interference of the past and of the future, the resentment, guilt, and anxiety and worry of the future. And so for me, it's understanding these best options that are proven, which other people may indicate is their faith. And so when I feel at dis-ease, I know my job is to clear that dis-ease with this faith, with what I do, say, think, and feel. And it is beliefs that I control. I give meaning to everything I see. So I'm going to give meaning by finding the light, the love, and the lessons in everything. The activities I have planned, the activities I don't have planned, my sleep, activities I get paid for, activities I don't get paid for. I will find the light, the love, and the lessons in all of them in order to accelerate in the trajectory of where I think I want to be or better, aggregate more great things around me, and create exponentiality of outcomes in that aligned trajectory of where I think I want to be or better. And so that's the best way to leave the world of not enough, of a scarce world, of a zero game, of trading and negotiating everything, including gifting, including giving, and understanding that, you know, what we have does not provide us happiness. If we have more, it won't provide us happiness. If we have different things, it won't provide us happiness. If we have things to impress people we don't like, it won't provide us happiness. But happiness will be derived from what we do, say, think, and feel. And if we believe in a source greater than us that loves us more than our mom, we're going to do, say, think, and feel better. Feel it with that belief. Does that sound fair?
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Monica. I appreciate it. You're right. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, by the way, for being here on the Breakfast with Champions. I guess they call it the BWC now, which is super cool. Nick Laser, a guy who works for me, he loves to put acronyms to like everything. And then I'm always trying to figure out what the hell is he talking about. But more importantly, Jake, why don't you reset the room and tell me where to go?
Let's do it. Yes, we're in the BWC. A lot of champions in this room. We got the Breakfast with Champions. We got 19 minutes left here at 6:41 a.m. Pacific time, 9:41 a.m. Eastern time, everyone. This is David Meltzer's hour here in the Breakfast with Champions. If you have a question you'd like to ask, just feel free to raise your hand or back channel me. Today's topic training was stop, drop, and roll. And there is some time to ask some questions here. Let's continue to share the room. Share with your friends, family, the whole community. And I will pass it back off to you to take a question online. And then we'll bring up Gigi here on Clubhouse when you're back.
You got it. I appreciate it. Wow, here we go. There's so many good questions. Sorry. All right, here we go. How to get better at realizing when our ego is creating resistance for us. By definition, your ego is creating resistance for you. By definition, it edges goodness out of your life. It edges God out of your life. It edges gold out of your life. The ego prescribes resistance to fight, flee, feed, or fornicate to create a legacy for ourselves. It creates resistance to fear. And we can realize when we are afraid that not only must we identify the fear, but we must stop, because it's impossible to identify the prescription that we're giving fear unless we're at ease, unless we've stopped. It's very difficult to prescribe while we're running away or fighting or feeding or fornicating. It's hard to think. And so that stop mechanism, when we identify fear, is a crucial component. And then dropping to ease allows us to identify the prescription and utilize time as a dependent variable to remember, collect in the trajectory where we want to be or better by giving meaning of the past and not limiting ourselves or self-image of the future. And so this whole system that I've created of identifying and stopping allow us to be a ferocious Buddha, to do our best, learn lessons, and have fun, but allow the outcomes and validate the outcomes with faith instead of utilizing what we want other people to think of us as a prescription to giving valuation or validation to outcomes. You don't need to do that. The outcomes itself are protection and promotion. It is in the stop, drop, and roll process that puts us at ease, that relieves, reduces, and dissipates this to allow us to walk with the expectation of miracles, the giving and receiving of miracles, the omniscient, all-powerful source that loves us more than our mom, being part and parcel to a system that's unified and infinite, a system of thought that allows us, once again, to progress in a positive manner. All right, Jake, let's bring up Gigi.
Okay, let's do it. Gigi, welcome to the clubhouse. You can unmute yourself and ask your question. Welcome.
Hello, happy Friday. I think there's a team, and I just want to read a story that reminds of my journey and want to know your understanding of it.
Okay, thank you.
So it was like I was at a party given by a billionaire on Shelter Island. I said, Joe, how does it make you feel to know that our host only yesterday made more money in one day than your novel Cash 22 has earned in its entire history? And Joe said, I've got something you can never have. I said, what on earth could that be? And Joe said, the knowledge that I have enough. And I remember when I came to you, I was in the same position of chasing stuff. And now it's like, I'm just moving towards that and I know I have enough. So what is your perspective about that? I think it's a similar journey for you.
Oh, very similar. And thank you for sharing that story. Because if you don't live in a world of more than enough, you'll never have enough. If you live in a zero-sum game, there'll always be more. You know, I love traveling and being blessed with the ability to see so many people and so many things, because it, to me, is a testament of more than enough, not the testament that I want more. It's just when I think I've seen the nicest house I've ever been in. You know, it was funny. I was with our friend Tom Bilyeu. We had dinner at his house, and you know, just a humble guy. And his home is so beautiful. It's, you know, probably worth about $40 million in the Hollywood Hills. Tom exited Quest Nutrition and just is an extraordinary entrepreneur and a humble person. But it was amazing because I'm sitting in his home thinking, wow, you know, this is a man who lives in a world of more than enough. And then as we're sitting there, he's talking about how he went to P. Diddy's party and he walked into P. Diddy's house. And there was a piece of art with the security guard at the party in the front of his foyer. And the piece of art was worth $40 million. And all I thought about was, wow, I'm so glad I live in a world of more than enough, because I always have enough through me. I want to receive more so I can give more. Absolutely. I want to receive more so I can give more. I want to provide and empower more to more people, but it's unlimited, which gives me confidence to do something that most people don't do, and becomes to do something that I wish I would have done before I lost everything, which is ask for help. Because no longer do I live in scarcity or feel as if I ask for help that I'm taking away or I'm less than, or there's some sort of zero game of transactional giving and receiving, trading and negotiating involved in me asking for help. There's no separation of inferiority or superiority. It's just, hey, let me give you an opportunity. Let me add value to your life by me asking you for help, because there's more than enough. The acknowledgement that occurs through giving and receiving and witnessing, and not having what we had before, regardless of whether it's given away, stolen, manipulated, it doesn't matter. I still can find the light, the love, and the lessons in it. And so for me to live in the world of more than enough, I know that I have enough. because I wouldn't be here if I didn't have enough. I have everything I need because I am. I just got to figure out what I'm doing to interfere with my potential. There's a difference between who I am and who I want people to think I am. And that difference creates a lot of dis-ease. And so for me, living in the realm, the majority of the time, only spending minutes and moments outside of that realm, in fear, in dis-ease, has a significant difference in my life. Do I get kicked in the face every day? Do I have ego-based responses that are prescribed to the fear? Absolutely, every single day. I can't imagine a day that I haven't had some sort of anger, frustration, employee shortage, obstacle, resentment, guilt, offense, need to be right, worried, anxious. The only difference is I have gone the majority of my day spent in interference to a minimal amount of time every single day. Although people still cut me off, people lie to me, cheat me, manipulate me, offend me, all the different things that happen during the day, they still happen. I spend minutes and moments in interference, creating cortisol instead of dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins, being reminded and remembered and recollected when the dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins are released. My little doggy get to find, remember, and recollect. My source of faith is telling me, hey, this is good behavior. Good behavior creates good progress. Good progress aggregates, compounds exponentially, and accelerates to something better. And then it gives me cortisol when I'm at dis-ease as a punishment, in a sense, that dis-ease that says, hey, this is bad behavior. I'm going to give you cortisol so you don't do it. It creates pain. Pain's an indicator that you have a better place to be, that you need better behavior and better progress, because bad behavior creates bad progress, and bad progress aggregates, compounds exponentially in the outcomes, and accelerates. The only problem with progress is that our human capabilities don't allow us to see it. So we get impatient. And when it's good behavior, we get patient and we quit doing the good behaviors. And if it's bad behaviors, there's nothing to be impatient about, because we don't think that it'll create bad progress or bad outcomes, but it does. It just takes time until we become aware of it. So if you're smoking cigarettes every day and you're doing it for 15 years and you think that that bad behavior somehow is not creating dis-ease or bad progress, don't be surprised when overnight you have cancer. You have created cortisol every single day in order to aggregate, compound exponentially. And it may not be cancer, it may be something else, but you are creating dis-ease. What are you doing? Are you moving your body the wrong way to interfere with it? Are you not moving your body enough to interfere with it? Are you eating the wrong foods to interfere with it? Are you drinking the wrong drinks? Are you taking the wrong drugs? Are you thinking the wrong thoughts? Are you saying the wrong things? Are you doing the wrong things? Are you feeling the wrong way? Are you believing the wrong things in order to create dis-ease in your life? Live in a world of more than enough. You are enough. That's where the two words, those powerful words, come from. I am enough. What am I doing to interfere with it? Thank you, Gigi. That was a great question. All right, everyone. Jake, reset the room. I think we got about 8 minutes.
Thank you, Gigi. Yeah, quickly resetting the room. We are in the Breakfast with Champions. Welcome, everyone. This is David Meltzer's hour. We got 8 minutes left here. Dave can answer a couple more questions. If you have a question or didn't get a chance to ask here, just email David. He's happy to answer it. His email is david@dmeltzer.com. David@dmeltzer.com. Dave, I will pass it back over to you to take a question online, and then we'll bring up Sarah here on Clubhouse.
Okay. I will make sure I don't take too much time. There's a lot of questions. I do want to tell people that there's a lot of questions here. If I don't get to it, go ahead and email me. But we do IG Lives every day. We do an Ask Me Anything on Monday. And there's a lot of places that I can answer these questions live at meetups. We'll be doing lives, VIP dinners with Q&A sessions there. There's so many places, but reach out to me, david@dmeltzer.com. If you want the exercises, the guides, if you'd like my book, if you haven't gotten already, I pay for the book, I pay for shipping, I'll sign it. Just go ahead, email me, david@dmeltzer.com. All right, here's a question. I like this. I don't think I've ever gotten this one. How can patience be learned? You ever think about that? I've been at, I think I love that question. Thank you, by the way, Colleen, and asked that question. That's a really deep question. Okay. How patience be learned? I think patience can be learned when we make time our dependent variable. See, I make time, man-made constructive time, I'm talking about, the time that a particle of light leaves the sun and the earth, determined upon the 24 hours in a day. I use that as my dependent variable of all matter, subjective matter and objective matter. So things that can be proven quantitatively and things that are just feeling or emotion based. But regardless, we can use time to get better at patience. And so when we use time dependent variable and we want something, what creates patience is the allowance of that which we want to present itself or better. And so if we can use time as a dependent variable to say that I am going to use my time to be productive in alignment with where I want to be or what I want, I'm going to be accessible, accessing what I want and accessible to others to get what I want, and gracious, finding each day in that 24 hours, the light, the love, and the lessons. If I practice being productive, accessible, and gracious, if I practice, if I practice stop, drop, and roll, I can learn through the source of faith that we were talking about that everything comes not only in the right place at the perfect time, but better than that which I wanted. As long as I know what I want, who I help, and how to get it done, prioritizing in that trajectory by giving meaning, by finding the light, the love, and the lessons in my past, and utilizing time as a dependent variable, not dependent upon the outcome in which I think I want, but dependent upon the productivity, accessibility, and gratitude to utilize to effectuate the aggregation, compounding, exponential outcomes and acceleration of where I want to be or better. We can learn patience through surrender. Surrender is created by putting our attention, intent, and intention into the coincidences that we want by understanding our values of gratitude, which will give us perspective, forgiveness, which will give us ease, accountability, which will give us control, and effective communication will keep us in spirit. And then utilizing, according to those values, the daily practices of knowing our what, our who, our how, our now, and applying our why. That's how patience can be learned. All right, Jake, bring up Sarah. We got a few more minutes.
All right. Welcome, Sarah, to the clubhouse. You can unmute yourself and ask your question. Welcome. Sarah, are you here? If you're here, just unmute yourself. Oh, it looks like Sarah just jumped off. Dave, do you want to take a question online and then we can wrap it up?
I certainly do. Thanks. I got to find another one here. Sorry. I'm going to take it here.
We have Dave. We have a question online, actually. Let's bring up Oliver. Oliver, unmute yourself and ask your question. Welcome. Yeah, hey there, Dave. Happy Friday. Good morning. Thank you for the training today. My question is, obviously, there's so many different things that, everyone needs to kind of improve on. One of the things that I've been focusing on is, becoming an active listener. And I just wanted to hear from your perspective, if there's any specific tips or, anything that I can do to really, kind of accelerate that growth in that specific avenue.
Yeah, let's not talk to people. Let's not, wondering what they, that they're listening. So the easiest way to become an active listener is to utilize the open-ended question guide. Everything that I do is based off, one, finding an open mind, but two, utilizing questions instead of statements in order to effectuate alignment and understanding between people. I have a basic premise, and I'm happy, Oliver, to send you this. Just email me or anyone else, david@dmeltzer.com. Go ahead. This is how it works. I want to meet you where you're at. I want to meet an open mind and open heart and open hands where they're at. I want to then ask them, according to the subject matter or topic in which I want to discuss, what are you doing today? Where's your mindset, your heart set, and your handset today, according to politics, religion, solar, insurance, whatever it may be? And I want to continually ask more questions, open-ended and closed-ended questions, in order to facilitate a final question. Would it help you if? And then after I get an agreement or alignment with would it help you if, I then only have one last question to ask. Do you know anyone that can help me? And if I utilize this structure, this format, this template in order to effectuate a meeting of the minds, the hearts, the souls, and the hands, and I ask questions continually without making any statements, it is impossible to utilize the open question template and not be an active listener, because you won't know what to ask next, and you won't get to the two pertinent questions of all conversations, which is, do you know anyone that can help me, and would it help you if? All right, that'll do it, Jake. It is 7 a.m. on the dot here Pacific time, 10 a.m. in Eastern time. I want to thank everyone for being here on Fridays. The replays are available. The guides, the exercises, my books are available. We do meetups. We do trainings. We do VIP dinners all around the country. Email me, david@dmeltzer.com. I will be happy to send you anything and everything I can to be of service or value. Ramon, I want to thank you for having and continuing the amazing platform of the BWC. Jake, can you please close out the room? Remember, everyone, be more interested than interested. Be kind to your future self and do good deeds. Jakey Bicky, close out the room.
Thank you, David. Thank you for that hour. Thank you, BWC Breakfast with Champions. Happy Friday. Have a great rest of your
Thank you, everyone. What a great training today. Go ahead, email me if you want to know about where we'll be with all these great people. Join the text community that we have, 949-298-2905. Email me, david@dmeltzer.com. That's awesome. Thank you. Great to meet you as well. So, all right, sorry. Thank you, everyone. Week endings there. What do you think, Mike? See you later.
Now I'm at the point you want to be with me. I'm vibing out at a higher frequency, cause everything that I want and I'm gonna be, it's when I wake up, that's when I start to dream. Someone you love is talking down, here is the plan. Let it fall through like a handful of sand. Nothing happens overnight, what you must understand. If you dwell on the bad, then you don't stand a chance. Something you want upset, saying why it ain't mine yet. That's because now you have yet to change your mindset. People don't put their mind to rest while they're so wired. A lot of people go to sleep and wake up tired. Power of positivity and persistence. Say that I can, we'll just sit back and witness. Make an impact when our time is done. Make money, help people, and have lots of fun. Whoa.